The room fell silent as the holographic display showed planet XJ-12 rotating slowly in the center of the war room. 17 red markers blinked across its green surface, each one representing a failed mission. Admiral West stood with his hands behind his back, his weathered face showing no emotion as he studied the planet that had claimed so many lives. "Every species that has tried to land on this planet has died," said the tall, blue-skinned Federation representative named Tull. His large eyes reflected the glow of the hologram. "We call it the Devourer. We strongly advise against any human missions to XJ-12. Admiral West nodded slowly. "Thank you for your concern. We've read the reports." "Then you understand," Tull said, relief in his voice. "Good. There are many other, suitable planets for human expansion." "You misunderstand me," West said. "I was thanking you for the information. Earth Command has already approved the mission. We launch in 3 days." Tull's skin darkened with alarm. "That is unwise. 17 species far more advanced than humans have perished there. The jungle consumes everything." West turned to face the alien diplomat. "With all due respect, those 17 species weren't human." Commander Tom Miller checked his equipment one final time as the dropship entered XJ-12's atmosphere. The craft shook violently, buffeted by storms that seemed to appear from nowhere. "Weather patterns are changing rapidly," said Ryan, the pilot. "It's like the atmosphere knows we're here." Tom looked at his team, 6 of Earth's finest specialists, each chosen for their skills and mental toughness. Lisa Chen, their biologist, was already taking readings of the atmosphere. Mike, weapons specialist, checked his rifle with practiced hands. The twins, Ben and Jay, both engineers, ran diagnostics on their equipment. Kate, the team doctor, reviewed medical protocols on her tablet. "Remember," Tom said, "we're not here to fight a war. This is reconnaissance only. We gather information, we study the environment, and we leave in 10 days. The Federation has lost 17 species trying to colonize this place. We're just here to understand why." The ship landed in a small clearing, the only spot they could find in the dense jungle that covered the planet. As the door opened, hot, humid air rushed in, carrying strange smells, sweet, rotting, and something else none of them could identify. "Oxygen levels higher than Earth," Lisa reported, studying her instruments. "Lots of unknown compounds in the air, but nothing immediately toxic to humans." Tom stepped out first, his boots sinking slightly into the rich, dark soil. The jungle towered around them, massive trees with purple-tinted leaves that moved even when there was no wind. Vines as thick as a man's arm wrapped around everything. Flowers bigger than human heads opened and closed as if breathing. "It's beautiful," Kate whispered. "Beautiful things can kill you just as dead as ugly ones," Mike said, scanning the edge of the clearing with his weapon ready. Tom ordered the team to set up a perimeter of sensors around their landing site. These would warn them of any approaching life forms and analyze the environment continuously. By nightfall, they had established a secure base camp with defensive measures in place. That first night, they all heard the screams, distant, echoing calls of creatures hunting or being hunted. In the darkness beyond their lights, no one slept well. On the second day, Lisa made her first important discovery. "The plants are talking to each other," she said, showing Tom readings from her equipment. "Not like Earth plants that send chemical signals. This is different, faster, more complex. It's almost like a nervous system running through the entire jungle." Tom frowned. "You're saying the whole jungle is connected? Like one organism? Maybe. Or maybe it's many organisms working together perfectly. Either way, it explains how previous expeditions were overwhelmed so quickly. If one part of the jungle detects an intruder, every part knows almost instantly." "So the jungle knows." "We're here," Tom said. Lisa nodded. "It's watching us right now." That evening, the first attack came, not from large predators or poisonous plants, but from the air itself. A strange yellow pollen began falling in their camp, causing severe allergic reactions. Kate worked quickly, treating the symptoms while the team donned their breathing masks. The main trees weren't producing this pollen an hour ago. Lisa said, collecting samples. They made it specifically for us. They're testing our defenses. By the 5th day, the attacks had grown more coordinated. Vines grew at impossible speeds toward their camp each night, forcing the team to cut them back each morning. Strange insects with acid-filled bodies dropped from the canopy, eating through equipment. The ground itself seemed to shift, becoming unstable beneath their feet in random patterns. Federation records showed that most expeditions failed within the first week. Tom's team was holding out, adapting to each new threat. They worked in pairs, watching each other's backs, modifying their equipment to resist the jungle's attacks. On the 7th day, they lost Ben. He was just 20 feet from camp, checking a sensor, when the ground beneath him simply disappeared. One moment he was there, the next he was gone, pulled under by what looked like normal soil that had somehow turned to liquid. His screams lasted only seconds. When the ground solidified again, there was no trace of him. Jay, his twin brother, had to be sedated. The remaining team members doubled their vigilance, but morale had been shattered. "We need to leave," Kate told Tom that night. "This place, it's not just hostile, it's smart. It's learning about us faster than we're learning about it." Tom knew she was right, but their mission wasn't complete. "2 more days," he said. "We need more data. Earth needs to know what they're dealing with." On the 9th day, the jungle's strategy changed. The attack stopped completely. Nothing tried to kill them for 24 hours. The sudden peace was more unsettling than the constant attacks had been. "It's planning something bigger," Lisa said, not looking up from her microscope. She had been studying soil samples, finding strange cells that seemed to change their structure before her eyes. "The jungle isn't giving up. It's gathering its strength." That night, as the team prepared to sleep in shifts as usual, Lisa rushed into the command tent, her face pale. "The plants are producing a new toxin," she said. "I just identified it. It's airborne, it can penetrate our current filters, and it attacks the nervous system. Based on its chemical structure, it would paralyze humans while leaving them conscious." "How long do we have?" Tom asked. "Hours. Maybe less." Tom made the call. "We're evacuating now. Pack only essential data and equipment." As they prepared for emergency departure, Ryan's voice came through their comms. "Commander, there's a problem with the ship. The hull is dissolving." Tom ran to the landing site. The dropship's metal skin was covered in a thin film of green growth that was eating through the alloy like acid. Underneath, the ship's systems were already compromised. "How long to fix it?" Tom asked. Ryan shook his head. "Too long. Whatever this stuff is, it's specifically targeting our technology. It's like the jungle analyzed our ship and designed something just to destroy it." Tom looked up at the canopy above them, suddenly aware of how the leaves seemed to be watching them, how the vines had slowly encircled their camp, cutting off escape routes one by one. "Back to camp," he ordered. "We fortify our position and call for extraction. The Federation warned us, now we know why." That night, as they huddled in their camp waiting for a rescue ship that was still days away, the jungle finally made its full attack. Massive creatures with armor-like skin charged the perimeter. Plants released clouds of paralyzing spores. The ground beneath them became unstable, opening sudden pits. The team fought with everything they had. Mike's weapons cut down the larger creatures. Kate treated injuries even as she fought. Lisa worked frantically to modify their air filters. Jay programmed their remaining drones to defend the perimeter. Tom sent one final transmission to Earth before their communications were cut off. XJ-12 hostile beyond all estimates. The entire ecosystem functions as a unified defense system. Request immediate military response team with biological warfare specialists. One discovery may be crucial. Lisa found evidence that the jungle operates like an immune system. It doesn't just kill, it adapts to each threat. Send immunologists. Tell them to prepare for war. The transmission cut off. The Federation logged the loss of another expedition to the Devourer. They expected humans to give up like all others before them. They were wrong. Lisa Chen woke up in a medical pod, surrounded by the steady beep of monitors. Her arms were covered in healing patches, and a breathing mask supplied clean oxygen to her lungs. For a moment, she thought she was still on XJ-12, still fighting the jungle. Then a face appeared above her, an older man in a white coat with kind eyes. "You're safe, Dr. Chen," he said. "You're back on Earth Station Alpha. I'm Dr. Wilson." Lisa tried to speak, but her throat was too dry. Dr. Wilson helped her sip water through a straw. "The others?" she finally managed to ask. Dr. Wilson's expression darkened. "I'm sorry. You were the only survivor. The rescue team found you in a small cave, protected by some kind of barrier you built." Memories flashed through Lisa's mind. Tom's last order for her to run with the samples while the others held off the final attack. The cave she found, using the last of her supplies to seal the entrance. "How long?" she asked. 3 weeks since the rescue team brought you back. You've been in medical coma for most of it. Your body was fighting off several unknown toxins." Lisa sat up suddenly, ignoring the pain. "My samples? My data?" "All preserved," Dr. Wilson assured her. "In fact, there's someone who very much wants to talk to you about them." General Marcus Reed was not what Lisa expected. Instead of a typical military commander, he was a slender man with glasses and a thoughtful expression. His office walls were covered with plants, earth plants, carefully arranged in glass cases. "Dr. Chen," he said, rising to greet her as she was wheeled into his office. "I'm very glad you survived." "General," she nodded. Her body was still weak, but her mind was sharp. "I understand you want to know about XJ-12. "Yes. More specifically, I want to know how you survived when no one else has." He gestured to a screen on the wall which showed images of her samples and data. "Your discovery about the jungle behaving like an immune system, it's fascinating." Lisa looked at the enlarged images of the cellular structures she had collected. "It's more than behavior, General. The entire planet functions as one organism. The trees, the animals, the insects, they're like different cells in a body, all working together to eliminate foreign threats." "Like white blood cells attacking an infection," Marcus said. "Exactly. The planet treated us like a disease, and it adapted to fight us specifically." Lisa pointed to one of the images. "See how these plant cells changed structure after exposure to our equipment? They were learning how to break down our technology." General Marcus nodded. "And that's why 17 different species have failed. The planet learned from each attempt, becoming more efficient at killing the next visitors." "But that's also its weakness," Lisa said, leaning forward. "It's an immune system, yes, but immune systems can be manipulated. On Earth, we have autoimmune disorders where the body attacks itself. We have immunotherapy where we trick the immune system into fighting cancer. We have vaccines that train the immune system to recognize threats." For the first time, a smile appeared on Marcus's face. "And that's why I've been ordered to form a new task force, Operation Immune Response, and I want you to head the scientific division." Over the next 6 months, a facility was built deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Here, Lisa worked with a team of Earth's best scientists, immunologists, botanists, zoologists, and military researchers. They studied her samples, ran simulations, and developed a strategy unlike anything tried before on XJ-12. Dr. Robert Park, a leading immunologist, became Lisa's closest collaborator. Together they spent countless hours analyzing the jungle's responses to different stimuli. "It's remarkable," Rob said one night as they reviewed test results. "The samples continue to adapt even in isolation. Look at how this vine section responds. When exposed to the metal from our ships, it immediately begins producing acid to dissolve it." Lisa nodded, watching the time-lapse recording. "And it remembers. When we expose it a second time, it reacts faster. But what if we change the composition of the metal slightly?" They ran the test again with a modified alloy. The vine struggled, trying different acids, taking longer to find one that worked. "That's it," Lisa whispered. "That's our way in. We need to confuse its immune response. Give it too many threats to adapt to at once." General Marcus called a meeting of the full task force to hear their findings. Military officers sat alongside scientists, all focused on the holographic display of XJ-12, rotating above the conference table. Conventional warfare won't work, Lisa explained. The more force we use, the stronger the jungle's response. Instead, we propose a three-phase approach based on immunotherapy principles. Rob stood up and continued. Phase 1. Distraction. We overwhelm the planet's immune system with multiple foreign bodies at different points, like giving a patient with allergies a controlled exposure to trigger a response. Lisa pointed to the hologram, which now showed multiple landing zones, marked across the planet's surface. Phase 2. Infiltration. While the jungle is busy fighting the distractions, we insert specialized teams with modified genetic and technological signatures to confuse the planet's recognition systems. Like disguising medicine to get past the body's defenses, Rob added. And Phase 3, Lisa concluded. Redirection. We introduce compounds that will gradually alter how the jungle perceives human presence, from threat to neutral or even symbiotic entity. The room was silent for a moment. Then a colonel in the back spoke up. You want to make friends with a planet that's killed hundreds of our people? Not friends, Lisa corrected. We want to establish tolerance, like a transplant patient's body learning to accept a new organ. General Marcus stood. This approach is unorthodox, but conventional methods have failed 17 times. President Cole has approved the operation. He turned to the hologram. The question is not if we go back to XJ-12, but how we win when we do. Training for Operation Immune Response began immediately. Special Forces soldiers learned to move in biomimetic suits designed to mask their human signatures. Engineers built drones that mimicked the jungle's own creatures. Scientists developed compounds that could alter the planet's perception systems. Lisa watched from the observation deck as Captain Jack Thompson led his squad through a simulated jungle environment. The facility had recreated XJ-12's conditions as best they could, using Lisa's data to program attack patterns. They're getting better, Rob said, joining her. Thompson's team lasted 30 minutes longer today. It won't be enough, Lisa replied. The real jungle is smarter, faster, and has more weapons than we can simulate. Then why do you look so confident? Rob asked. Lisa smiled. Because we have something the jungle doesn't have. Something none of those 17 species had either. What's that? Experience being sick, Lisa said. Humans have evolved alongside thousands of diseases. Our bodies fight off invasions every day. We understand, on a fundamental level, what it means to be both the immune system and the invader. We know how to hack biological defenses because we've been doing it to ourselves for centuries. Rob considered this. You really think we can succeed where advanced civilizations failed? Lisa watched as Thompson's team regrouped after a simulated attack, quickly adapting their tactics. Those civilizations tried to conquer the jungle or hide from it. We're going to do something different. What? We're going to teach it. The day of launch arrived faster than anyone expected. Lisa stood on the observation deck of Earth's orbital station, watching as the massive fleet prepared to depart for XJ-12. Nervous? General Marcus asked, joining her. Terrified, Lisa admitted, but also certain. This will work. Below them, hundreds of ships were being loaded with equipment, personnel, and the specialized biological agents they had developed. The largest military operation in human history, all based on Lisa's discovery about a jungle that thought like an immune system. The Federation representatives think we're insane, Marcus said with a small smile. They've placed bets on how quickly we'll be wiped out. Let them bet, Lisa replied. They don't understand what we're really doing. And what's that, Doctor? Lisa turned to face the general. We're not just going to war with a jungle, sir. We're going to change how it thinks. We're going to teach a planet that not everything foreign is a threat. Through the window, the first wave of ships began to move away from the station, engines glowing blue against the darkness of space. Operation Immune Response had begun. The jungle was about to face an enemy unlike any it had encountered before, humans who understood what it meant to fight an infection from both sides. Captain Jack Thompson watched from the command ship as the first wave launched toward XJ-12. Not soldiers, but machines. 500 unmanned drones designed to look like standard landing craft spread out across the planet's surface, each targeting a different region. "First wave away," reported the flight controller. "All units on course." On the main screen, the green surface of XJ-12 grew larger. Jack remembered the briefings, the simulations, the warnings. No species had survived this planet longer than 30 days. He glanced at the mission clock that had been installed in every ship, every suit, every piece of equipment. 30. Counting down. General Marcus stood beside him, his face showing no emotion. Phase 1 begins now. The jungle reacted exactly as Lisa had predicted. As the first drones landed, breaking through the dense canopy, the planet's defense system activated instantly. Vines shot upward, wrapping around the metal hulls. Strange. Creatures emerged from the undergrowth, attacking with claws and acid. The ground itself seemed to try to swallow the intruders. In the command ship, Lisa watched the data streaming in from the drone's sensors. Each machine was programmed to fight, back just enough to be considered a threat, but not enough to be destroyed too quickly. "Look at these readings," she said to Rob, pointing at the screen. "The jungle is diverting resources from other areas to attack the drones. Nutrient flows, creature movements, even weather patterns are shifting." Rob nodded. "It's working. The planet's immune system is fully engaged with what it thinks is a major invasion. Now comes the tricky part," Lisa said. "We have to time Phase 2 perfectly. Too soon and the jungle will still have reserves to fight us. Too late, and it will have already destroyed enough drones to free up resources." General Marcus joined them at the monitoring station. "Dr. Chen, what's your assessment?" Lisa studied the patterns on her screen, watching the jungle's responses across 12 different landing zones. "The reaction is stronger than we anticipated, but that's good for us. The planet is committing more resources than necessary." She looked up at the general. "We should launch Phase 2 in 3 hours when the jungle's response system is fully stretched." 3 hours later, Jack led his team to the dropships. Unlike the first wave of decoy drones, these vessels were specially designed to minimize their impact on the jungle's sensory systems. Their hulls were coated with compounds derived from the jungle's own plants, and their engines were modified to emit heat patterns similar to the planet's natural volcanic vents. Jack's soldiers wore the most advanced biomimetic suits ever created, a second skin that partially masked their human signatures while allowing full mobility. Each soldier had undergone genetic treatments to temporarily alter their external cellular structure, making them less immediately recognizable as foreign to the jungle. "Remember your training," Jack told his team as they prepared to drop. "We're not fighting the jungle head-on. We're slipping through its defenses while it's distracted. No unnecessary contact with the environment. Use the pathways exactly as planned. This isn't about conquering territory. It's about establishing footholds." The 12 dropships departed the command vessel silently, each heading to a different location far from the decoy landings. Jack's ship aimed for a region near the equator, where a small clearing had been identified as ideal for their purposes. As they entered the atmosphere, Jack felt the familiar rush of adrenaline. But this was different from any combat drop he'd experienced before. They weren't dropping into enemy territory. They were infiltrating a living organism's bloodstream like a carefully designed medicine. The landing was perfect. Jack's team deployed quickly, setting up their equipment with practiced efficiency. The clearing was surrounded by massive purple-leafed trees that seemed to watch them, but there was no immediate attack. "Perimeter secure," reported Scott, Jack's second in command. "No hostile movement detected." Jack activated the first of their specialized devices, a small disc that, when placed on the ground, began emitting signals that mimicked the jungle's own communication patterns. These translator discs were Lisa's invention, designed to confuse the planet's ability to identify foreign objects. Phase 2, deployment successful, Jack reported to the command ship. Beginning establishment of Base Alpha. Over the next hours, all 12 infiltration teams reported similar success. The jungle still focused on the decoy drones that continued to fight across the planet, had not yet detected the smaller, disguised human teams. By the end of the first day, Jack's team had established a secure perimeter 20 meters in diameter. The specially treated soil they spread created a barrier that the jungle's roots seemed reluctant to cross. The biomimetic tents they erected blended with the surrounding vegetation. "So far, so good," Scott said as night fell. "But we all know what happened to the previous missions. The jungle adapts." Jack nodded. "That's why we have Phase 3. We're not trying to hide forever. We're changing the rules of engagement." Back on the command ship, Lisa monitored all 12 bases continuously. "It's working better than we expected," she told General Marcus during the daily briefing. "The jungle is still focusing over 70% of its resources on the decoy drones. It hasn't recognized our real presence yet." "How long can we maintain this advantage?" Marcus asked. "Based on the data, I estimate 5 to 7 days before the jungle begins to detect anomalies in the areas where our teams are based. That's when we start Phase 3. Rob pointed to a display showing the biological agents they had developed. "These compounds are ready for deployment. Once the jungle starts to notice the bases, we'll introduce these gradually into the surrounding soil. They're designed to alter how the planet's defense system categorizes human presence." "Like changing someone's blood type?" Marcus asked. "More like teaching a body that peanuts aren't dangerous," Lisa explained. "We're not trying to hide from the immune system anymore. We're training it to recognize us as non-threatening." On day 5, Jack's team noticed the first signs that the jungle was becoming aware of them. The leaves of nearby trees began to turn toward their camp. Small insects appeared at the edges of their perimeter, seemingly testing the barriers. Phase 3. "Authorization confirmed," came the message from command. "Begin compound deployment." Jack personally oversaw the deployment of the first canisters. These devices slowly released carefully engineered biological compounds into the soil around their base. Unlike weapons, these were more like vaccines, designed not to kill the jungle, but to teach it. "How will we know if it's working?" Scott asked as they watched the canisters disappear into the dark soil. "If it works, nothing happens," Jack replied. "That's the point. The jungle learns to ignore us." By day 15, all 12 human bases remained intact, already breaking the previous survival record for any alien presence on XJ-12. The jungle had discovered them, but its attacks were confused, uncoordinated. In some areas, the plants near the human bases had stopped showing signs of hostility altogether. In the command ship, Lisa couldn't contain her excitement as she showed the latest readings to General Marcus. "Look at this. The vegetation around Base Gamma has actually started growing toward the compound instead of away from it. The biological agents are working even better than we hoped." "So we've won?" Marcus asked. "Not yet," Lisa cautioned. "We've made progress, but the planet's immune system is complex. Different regions are responding differently. Some areas are still highly hostile." As if to confirm her words, an emergency signal came in from Base Delta. The jungle had suddenly launched a massive attack, overwhelming their defenses with new creatures never seen before, predators with armor that could withstand human weapons, and plants that produced toxins capable of penetrating their protective suits. "The planet is adapting," Rob said grimly. "It's developing new defenses specifically designed against our current measures." Lisa nodded. "Just like a body developing new antibodies against a persistent infection. This was expected." She turned to General Marcus. "It's time for the contingency plan. We need to deploy the pulse." On day 21, Jack received new gear orders. His team was to place special devices at key points around their base, devices that would emit a strong electromagnetic pulse combined with specific biological agents. The pulse would temporarily disrupt the jungle's communication network, giving the biological agents time to spread further than would normally be possible. "This is risky," Scott said as they placed the last device. "If this doesn't work, the jungle will hit back harder than ever." Jack looked up at the canopy above them, where purple leaves seemed to watch their every move. "Sometimes the only way to win a fight is to change the rules. That's what we're doing here. We're not trying to beat the jungle at its own game. We're teaching it a new one." As the mission clock passed the 25-day mark, all bases prepared for the synchronized activation of the pulse devices. In the command ship, Lisa, Rob, and General Marcus watched tensely. Pulse activation in 3, 2, 1. Now, Lisa counted down. Across the planet, 12 electromagnetic pulses fired simultaneously. For a brief moment, the jungle went silent. The war had entered its final phase. For 3 full days after the pulse, the jungle remained eerily quiet. The massive trees stopped their constant movement. The predators retreated deep into the undergrowth. Even the weather, which had been launching storms at human encampments, grew calm. In Base Alpha, Captain Jack walked the perimeter, feeling uneasy about the silence. The mission clock had passed the 30-day mark. They had officially survived longer than any previous alien expedition. But Jack's instincts told him this wasn't victory. It was the calm before a storm. "Something's coming," he told Scott, as they inspected the defensive barriers. "The jungle's not dead. It's thinking." Scott nodded. "The scientists say the pulse disrupted its communication network, but they also say it won't last." "When it recovers," Jack said, looking up at the still purple leaves above them, "it's going to hit back hard." On the command ship, Commander, Anna Wright had taken over operational control. General Marcus had been called back to Earth to brief the President, leaving Anna in charge of the entire mission. As a veteran of 3 planetary conflicts, she was respected by the military teams. As a former xenobiologist, she was trusted by the scientists. "The pulse worked better than expected," Lisa explained during the morning briefing. "We disrupted the jungle's nervous system across nearly 40% of the planet. The biological agents have spread further than we hoped." "But?" Anna asked, sensing the scientist's hesitation. "But the jungle is already starting to recover," Rob finished. "And when complex systems recover from massive trauma, they often come back different." Anna studied the planetary scans. "Different how?" "We don't know," Lisa admitted. "That's what worries me. We've pushed the planet's immune system in a way it's never been pushed before. Its response could be unpredictable." As if on cue, alarms began to sound across the command center. One of the technicians called out, "Commander, we're detecting massive biological activity near Base Epsilon." On the main screen, thermal imaging showed a wave of heat signatures converging on the base from all directions. Hundreds, then thousands, of life forms moving with clear purpose. "Get me Captain Harris at Epsilon," Anna ordered. The screen split to show the face of Epsilon's commander, her expression grim. "We're surrounded," Harris reported. "New predator species, nothing we've seen before. They're larger, and our scans show they have thicker armor, specifically in the areas our weapons target." Anna looked at Lisa. "The jungle is adapting to our weapons," Lisa nodded slowly. "It's learning faster than we anticipated. The pulse may have disrupted its communication, but when it recovered, it seems to have rebuilt those pathways more efficiently." "Epsilon needs backup," Anna decided. "Prepare a combat drop from Commander," Harris interrupted, her voice tight with stress. "They're breaching the perimeter. Our barriers aren't stopping them. We need to evacuate now." The screen from Base Epsilon went dark. Over the next 12 hours, 3 more bases reported similar attacks. Each time, the jungle sent new creatures specifically evolved to counter human defenses. At Base Gamma, swarms of tiny insects bypassed their air filters with bodies so small they could slip through the mesh. At Base Theta, the ground itself turned acidic, eating through their foundation materials. At Base Kappa, spores in the air caused equipment to malfunction. The jungle was learning, adapting, and hitting back. Anna called an emergency meeting with all team leaders. Jack attended via secure link from Base Alpha, which hadn't yet been attacked. "The planet's immune system hasn't just recovered," Lisa explained, her face pale with lack of sleep. "It's evolved. The pulse forced it to rebuild its communication network, and it built it better, faster. Now it's creating specific countermeasures for each of our technologies." "We've lost 4 bases and 37 personnel," Anna summarized, grimly. "At this rate, we'll be wiped out within days." We need options. Rob spoke up. We expected adaptation, but not this fast. The biological agents we deployed were supposed to gradually teach the jungle to tolerate us, but it's rejecting them completely. So we failed, one of the military commanders said flatly. No, Jack said, his voice cutting through the despair. We haven't failed. We've learned. Every species before us tried to either hide from the jungle or overpower it. Neither worked. We tried a middle path, partial disguise, partial communication. That's not working either. What are you suggesting, Captain? Anna asked. Something radical, Jack replied. Dr. Chen's original insight was that the jungle functions like an immune system. But we've been treating it like a simple immune system, like a body that can only say self or not self. What if it's more complex than that? Lisa leaned forward. Go on. On Earth, our bodies don't just fight everything foreign. They learn to tolerate things, beneficial bacteria, food, even other people's cells during pregnancy. What if we stop trying to trick the jungle and instead show it we can be beneficial? How would we possibly do that? Anna asked. Jack looked at the scientists. You've analyzed this planet for months. What does it need? What's it missing that we could provide? There was silence for a moment. Then Rob's eyes widened. Certain trace elements. Our soil analysis showed the jungle is poor in several minerals that are crucial for plant growth on Earth. The vegetation here has evolved complex systems to recycle what little they have. So we offer the jungle something it needs, Jack said. We change our approach from infiltration to symbiosis. 2 days later, as Base Alpha came under attack from the new evolved predators, Jack implemented the desperate plan. Instead of strengthening their barriers, his team opened specific sections of their perimeter and deployed containers of mineral-rich solutions directly into the soil. This is insane, Scott muttered, as they watched the jungle's creatures approach the opening. We're inviting them in. Not inviting, Jack corrected. Offering a trade. The leading predators, massive six-limbed creatures with armor-like skin, paused at the opening, clearly confused by the lack of resistance. Behind them, the moving plants that had been probing the barriers also stopped. Jack activated the special dispensers they had created, releasing a fine mist of mineral-rich compounds into the air. Now we wait, he said, and hope the jungle is smart enough to recognize a gift when it sees one. On the command ship, Anna watched the feeds from the remaining bases, all of which were now implementing variations of Jack's plan. Some offered minerals. Others provided specific compounds the scientists had identified as potentially valuable to the jungle's ecosystem. I don't understand, one of the military advisors said. We're helping the thing that's trying to kill us? We're changing the relationship, Lisa explained. Instead of being perceived as an infection to be eliminated, we're trying to establish ourselves as a symbiotic partner. Anna nodded. It's like the difference between harmful bacteria that the body fights and beneficial bacteria that help with digestion. Same foreign organisms, different relationship. On the screen, they watched as the predators at Base Alpha slowly retreated. The plants stopped their aggressive growth toward the human structures. There was no immediate acceptance, but the attack had paused. It's working, Rob said softly. The jungle is reassessing us. At Base Alpha, Jack ordered his team to continue with their normal activities, but with a crucial difference. Each task now included some component that benefited the surrounding ecosystem. Water filtration systems were modified to improve soil quality around the base. Energy emissions were adjusted to support plant growth rather than hinder it. We're showing the jungle we can be useful, Jack explained to his skeptical team, that we're not just taking, but giving. By the 3rd day of the new approach, something remarkable happened. The plants nearest to the base began to grow differently, not toward the humans in attack, but in patterns that created natural pathways between human structures. They're accommodating us, Lisa said when Jack reported the change. The jungle is adapting to our presence, but not to reject us, to incorporate us. Not all bases saw the same results. Some continued to face attacks, though less coordinated than before. The jungle, it seemed, was experimenting, testing different responses to the human presence in different areas. It's like the planet has multiple immune strategies and is trying to decide which one to use with us, Rob theorized. In some areas, it's still treating us as a threat. In others, it's considering the possibility of coexistence. On day 45, as the human expedition passed the previous survival record by more than 2 weeks, a massive storm system began forming over Base Alpha. The weather patterns, which had been one of the jungle's most effective weapons, were gathering for what looked like a final, overwhelming assault. "Everyone inside," Jack ordered as the wind began to howl. "Secure all equipment." The storm grew until it blotted out the sky, swirling directly above the base with unnatural precision. Lightning struck around the perimeter, and rain fell in, sheets so thick it was like standing under a waterfall. In the command bunker, Jack and his team waited for the worst. The walls shook with the force of the wind. Water began seeping through seals that had never failed before. "If this doesn't stop soon, we won't survive," Scott shouted over the noise of the storm. Jack looked at the mission clock, 45:18:07. They had come so far, changed so many assumptions about what was possible on this planet. He refused to accept defeat now. "Deploy the Gaia Protocol," he ordered. Scott looked shocked. "That's our last resort. We don't know what it will do to the jungle." "We don't know what this storm will do to us either," Jack replied. "But I'd rather try something new than die doing the same thing." The Gaia Protocol was a radical technology developed as an absolute last option, a device that could temporarily disrupt the jungle's entire communication network much more powerfully than the earlier pulse. The risk was enormous. No one could predict how the planet would react when its neural system was temporarily scrambled. As the storm reached its peak intensity, Jack activated the device. A high-pitched sound filled the air, and for a moment, everything seemed to freeze. The rain stopped in midair, the wind went silent, the lightning paused between cloud and ground, then darkness fell. Jack woke to sunlight warming his face. He blinked, confused. The last thing he remembered was activating the Gaia Protocol as the storm raged around Base Alpha. He had expected destruction, not this. He sat up slowly, finding himself not in the command bunker but outside, lying on soft purple grass. The base structures stood nearby, undamaged. The sky above was clear blue, without the usual swirling clouds that had threatened them for weeks. "Captain," Scott rushed over, helping him to his feet. "You've been unconscious for almost 12 hours. The storm? Gone. Just vanished after you activated the device." Scott's expression was a mix of relief and confusion. "But that's not the strangest part. Look around you." Jack turned slowly, taking in their surroundings. The jungle had changed. The aggressive vines that had constantly probed their defenses were gone. The trees had shifted, creating a natural clearing around the base. Most surprisingly, some of the purple leaves had fallen to create a soft path leading from the base into the jungle. "It's like this everywhere," Scott said. "All the surviving bases report the same thing. The jungle isn't attacking anymore. It's making room for us." On the command ship, Commander Anna stared at the screens showing the transformed landscape around each remaining base. Scientists rushed from station to station, analyzing readings and debating theories. "The Gaia Protocol did more than disrupt the jungle's communication network," Lisa explained, her eyes bright with excitement. "It forced a complete neural reset, like restarting a computer. When the system came back online, it processed all the information it had about us in a new way, including the fact that we were offering beneficial elements rather than just fighting," Rob added. "It's like the jungle suddenly recognized a pattern it had missed before." Anna shook her head in wonder. "So it's not attacking because it's reassessing what we are," Lisa said. "The jungle's core function is to protect itself from threats. For 300 years, it has treated every alien species as an infection to be eliminated. The Gaia Protocol forced it to reconsider that classification. So we're not out of danger," Anna concluded. "The jungle could still decide we're a threat." "Yes," Rob admitted, "but the fact that it's creating paths instead of barriers suggests it's open to a different kind of relationship." "I'm sending a team down," Anna decided. "I need to see this for myself." 3 days later, Anna led a small group from the command ship to Base Alpha. Jack met them at the landing site, which was now surrounded by strange flowers that turned toward the ship like curious onlookers. "Welcome to the new XJ-12, Jack," said with a smile. "It's been quiet since the storm. No attacks, no sabotage of equipment. The jungle seems to be waiting." "Waiting for what?" Anna asked as they walked toward the base. "I think it's waiting to learn more about us," Jack replied, "like it's studying us." Lisa, who had come down with Anna, knelt to examine one of the flowers. "These weren't here before. The jungle is creating new species right before our eyes, plants specifically designed to interact with us." At the base, Jack showed them how his team had expanded their operations, working in cooperation with the transformed jungle. They had established gardens where they grew earth plants alongside native species, sharing water and nutrients. They had created walking paths that merged with the natural openings the jungle had provided. "It's not exactly peace," Jack explained. "More like a tentative truce. We're careful not to damage anything unnecessarily, and the jungle allows us to move through it." "The Federation representatives are in shock," Anna told him. "They've requested permission to send their own observers. No one can believe we've survived for 60 days now." "Tell them they're welcome," Jack said. "But they need to understand the rules. We didn't conquer this planet. We reached an understanding with it." Over the next month, the human presence on XJ-12 grew cautiously. New bases were established, each one following the principles discovered at Alpha. Offer benefits to the ecosystem, minimize disruption, and maintain open spaces for the jungle to interact. Dr. Rob led a research team that made breakthrough after breakthrough in understanding the planet's unique biology. "The jungle doesn't just communicate," he explained during one briefing. "It evolves in real time, creating new species for specific purposes. It's like watching evolution happen in days, instead of millennia." One morning, Lisa was working in the lab at Base Alpha when Jack rushed in. "You need to see this," he said, leading her outside. At the edge of the base, where the human gardens met the native jungle, something extraordinary was happening. A new plant was growing, but unlike anything they had seen before. It had the purple leaves of native vegetation, but the structure of an earth tomato plant. As they watched, it produced a small fruit that was neither exactly tomato nor any known native species. "It's hybridizing," Lisa whispered in awe. "The jungle is combining our plants with its own." "Not just combining," Jack said. "Improving. Look at how the stem has the flexibility of jungle plants but the fruit-bearing capacity of earth plants." The discovery sparked a new phase of research. The jungle, it seemed, wasn't just tolerating humans. It was learning from them, incorporating their biology and technology into its own system in ways that benefited both. 1 year after the first human landing on XJ-12, a formal ceremony marked the establishment of Harmony Base, the first permanent human settlement on the planet. Representatives from Earth and the Galactic Federation gathered in a large clearing that the jungle had specially created for the occasion. The Federation ambassador, a tall, blue-skinned alien named Tull, the same one who had warned Admiral West against the mission, stood in amazement as humans moved freely through areas where 17 species had perished. "I still don't understand," he told Commander Anna. "How did you succeed where everyone else failed? Your technology isn't more advanced. Your weapons aren't more powerful." Anna smiled. "Walk with me," she said, leading him down a path where jungle plants gently moved aside as they approached. "What do you see around you?" "A jungle that should be killing us," Tull replied bluntly. "Look closer," Anna urged. "See how the plants grow? They're creating spaces for us to walk. See those fruits hanging just at human reach? They're non-toxic to us, though they weren't before. The jungle didn't surrender to us and we didn't defeat it. We changed the relationship." They stopped at a small pond where earthfish now swam alongside native aquatic creatures. Children from the settlement played nearby, watched over by both human guards and strange, gentle creatures that had evolved specifically to protect human young. Other species tried to either conquer this planet or isolate themselves from it, Anna continued. Both approaches triggered the jungle's immune response. We did something different. What? Asked Tull. We offered partnership instead of just fighting infection. On Earth, our bodies don't just fight invaders, they learn to recognize friends from enemies. Our gut contains trillions of foreign bacteria that help us digest food. Our skin hosts organisms that protect us from harmful ones. Anna watched as a child cautiously offered a fruit to one of the jungle creatures, which accepted it gently. We didn't wage war against this planet, she explained. We taught it to recognize the difference between an invasion and a handshake. Tull considered this, his large eyes reflecting the strange harmony around them. Your species is unusual, he finally said. The Federation has much to learn from humans. Anna smiled. And we have much to learn from the jungle. That's the point. The strongest relationships are those where both sides have something to offer and something to gain. As the sun set over Harmony Base, casting a golden glow across the purple landscape, humans and jungle continued their careful dance of coexistence. Neither had truly conquered the other. Instead, they had created something entirely new, a partnership unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. The mission clock, once counting down to an expected failure, had been reprogrammed. Now it counted up, marking days of successful coexistence, 365, and rising. The jungle planet that no species had survived had become the planet that taught humanity, and the galaxy, a new definition of victory.